When I wrote Damon 9, I wanted there to be one centerpiece scene, one eye-popping moment that could potentially go viral. And I wrote the highway cop stop scene to do just that. Here's where a demon-possessed Morgan Shane loses it and single-handedly eviscerates a couple of cops. So we put a lot of effort into this one scene. We got a real police car, we had a stunt coordinator, we even had a flying rig and a green screen studio, the whole 9 yards. And it came out terrible. No matter how hard I tried in editing, I could not make it work. So I decided to redo it. I came up with a brand new concept that I thought would work. And since I had already spent a ton of money on this production, I devised a way to shoot the whole thing in my apartment. I called in 3 members of my original crew, Chanel Alvarez, my assistant director, Sam Stiles, gaffer, and Edith Rea, costumes, all of whom did me tremendous favors. The only problem was my lead actress, Stephanie Varek, had moved across the country. But Stephanie graciously agreed to do the shoot for free if I could get her to LA. So I used points and flew her to LA. Step 1 was to shoot the new exterior shot that would be the foundation, or what we call the plate, for the entire scene. So we did this in a remote corner of Griffith Park, no permit, with my video camera mounted to the dashboard of my car. The next step was to capture the 2 cops. I decided to play cop number 1 myself because I knew I was going to have to torture this poor guy. James Garcia played the second cop. He's a really good actor, but his main qualification is he was roughly the same size as me, so I could get away with renting only one uniform. Here's me walking from the car. There's no car, of course, it's just me. I mask out the shot, then key out the green screen background, then layer it over the exterior shot, adjusting the lighting and the color to match. Then I do the exact same thing with cop number 2. Same procedure. Now the first bit is when Morgan magically disappears. This actually was one of the easier things. You just shoot the scene 2 times, one with her, one without, and you pick a cool transition between the 2. But the next and toughest bit was when cop number 1, me, gets hurled against the windshield by some invisible force. To do this required 3 different shots. In the first shot, I rigged up a poor man's flying rig with parts from Home Depot, which I later returned. And using this setup, my friend shot me landing so that I could then put that into the scene backwards and it would serve as my liftoff. But to get me flying towards the camera required me to balance on a chair with wheels and to have me pulled towards the camera. And the third shot was just me dead sprawled across the windshield. It also took some really careful editing to make sure all 3 flowed together in a believable way. Now, the windshield itself was tricky. You'd think there'd be lots of stock clips out there of windshields breaking. No, I had to create my own. And for this, I went to an auto body shop in Pasadena who let me raid their dumpster for a windshield that had only one small crack in it. I rigged it up on some C-stands and shot through it from the bottom up towards the ceiling, where I projected green light onto the ceiling with gels to give myself a green screen background. Then I used a sandbag to break it, and I had only one shot at it, so fortunately I nailed it in more ways than one. I also needed blood drips, so I created my own stock blood drips, layered them into the scene, all in Adobe After Effects. Now the next bit is when cop number 2 retreats into the vehicle and Morgan from out of nowhere lands on the hood and attacks him by just blasting through the windshield. First is Morgan's landing. That's pretty simple. We shot her on my kitchen island, just simply jumping up and landing. And then by moving the image, we create the illusion that she's plummeting from the sky. Add a few stock bullet holes, some gun flares and smoke, and that creates the image of the cop firing badly, terrible shot, through the windshield. Simulating the glass shatter is a standard effect in After Effects. You have to play around with a little bit, but once you cut it into the final piece, it's much more realistic. Stephanie did a great job of being really menacing in this scene. I think I told her to act like a panther stalking a wounded antelope. But I wanted to complete her look with demonic eye lenses and fangs, which I had at the shoot, but they didn't fit her and they were uncomfortable. So I said, all right, screw it. We'll do it in post. So I created some eye shapes in After Effects and then tracked them to her movement. And then by using an image of fangs, I kind of painted them over her teeth frame by frame. Add some text, some glitchy effects and camera movement, some well-edited sound, and there you have it. Piece of cake. That's how you create a special effects horror scene in your apartment for a few $100s.
Oh, God!